Hey everyone, I'm Lou Perez, your host of the Builder Upper Show, a podcast where we talk about everything in construction and trades. Now let's get into it. I would like to welcome our guest, Matthew Timler, owner at Plug Light Bulb Electrical Services. Matthew, how you doing today?
I'm doing awesome. Thanks for having me on here. It's a pleasure and a great opportunity.
Pleasure's all mine. We really appreciate you joining us today. Sounds like you had an interesting story that we want to share with our listeners. So we'll kick it off with, when did you decide you wanted to be an electrician?
So that's actually a really unique story. And I'm going to go back to when I was really young. I was around 8 years old, and I used to help my dad all the time. He's been an electrician my entire life, not his entire life. And I used to help him pull wires, cut in boxes, but I hated electrical. I did not want anything to do with it. And my favorite part about it was driving the scissors lift. So he'd let me drive the scissors lift and go up and down with it and be pulling wires to and from light fixtures, helping him hang light fixtures. I just loved doing that. So fast forward a little bit, I was around 10, and my dad would have light fixtures brought home from work. So he would pay me like 10 cents, 15 cents a light fixture to pre-assemble them and put hooks on them, or put in ground pigtails or pre-wire things. And I loved that because I loved the money, but I did not like the work. So later on in life, I had went on a farm from 12 to 14, still trying to figure out what I wanted. I went into work leave from school 15 through 18 as an electrician, still hated it. The entire time I was only doing it for money. I looked at it as being a very boring job, and I didn't have a lot of comprehension on what I was physically doing. I was just being told, hey, run pipe from here to there, run wire from here to there, put these wires here, land these wires here, put this label on it. I had no clue what I was doing. I was just being a mindless monkey per se, and just doing whatever somebody told me to without any thought process behind it. College, and I could not figure out what I wanted to do. So I came back to electrical. I was like, hey, this is a good fallback. I can get an associate's degree after my apprenticeship, and then I can go get my bachelor's in whatever I want. I'll have a journeyman's at the end of it. So then I went to school for it, and that's when I fell in love. I had always liked science and math, and all of a sudden things started clicking. I felt like a magician because now I was manipulating electrons instead of just pulling wires from point A to point B. And I could visualize things. Now I understood how motors worked with stator windings, and and how transformers worked, where you're taking energy and you're taking it from one location to another without them touching each other. And that just blew my mind. So once I understood how the math and science behind it worked, I started to fall in love with the industry, and I couldn't get enough of it. And that's when it clicked for me. Then I would be working 8 hours. I'd be going to school for 8 hours, and I'd be at home all night long, YouTubing stuff on what I saw. And I was like, this is so cool. I want to know how to dissect it. I even went to Radio Shack at one point and started making my own radio out of little transistors and lights, and trying to intercept waves. And I started taking it to a different level of trying to intercept phone calls. I was like, this could be really cool. I could do a lot of things with it. So I don't know. I all of a sudden fell in love once I understood it and appreciated it for what it was. It wasn't pulling wires anymore. I understood the concept of you're manipulating electrons, you're inducing magnetism on things, you are in total control now, instead of, hey, go do this, mindless work. It became something that I thoroughly enjoyed and fell in love with. And I think that's kind of when it happened, around 19 to 20 years old. I just all of a sudden clicked, and I loved it. So
that's awesome. Yeah, that's super interesting. So you could tell kids that are in school that are interested in math and science that being an electrician could be the next step.
Oh, 100%. And I always enjoyed it, but it's because I was naturally good at it. I wasn't like the kid who's doing math after school, but if I was in math class, I was engaged, and I wanted to know the concepts behind things, and it really intrigued me. Like geometry was cool, physics was cool. Like I really liked learning about those things. Didn't ever think I'd want to do it in my career, but I was engaged with it and it resonated with me. So it was a really cool experience to have that click later on in life where, oh, I enjoyed doing these things. And I looked at it, almost had a stereotype of like, I don't want to be a biologist. I don't want to be a physics teacher. I put things in a block and said, hey, if you want to do something with science, you got to be a science teacher. Instead of, hey, I enjoy doing this and now I can apply it to what I'm actually doing in real life. And it's really cool. And I think it helps your passion too. Like it's definitely, it keeps me energetic about it because I enjoy physically doing what I do.
That's awesome. Well, side question from something that you mentioned before. Is Radio Shack still around?
It actually is now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I actually just bought, what the heck was it? I was doing it with my son. There's a kit I bought online for like learning PLC programming and actually doing some of the stuff that I had done on my own. I can't think of what it's called right now, but me and my son do that now. And he loves taking the little wires. Like you get a little block.
Oh yeah.
Just put wires in it. And then I can show him like, hey, type in this code on the computer and it'll be like a timing relay in there. And he can make the light flash. And he just absolutely loves it. And it's cool because yeah, Radio Shack came back and they did stuff like that. I wish I had stuff like that when I was growing up, to be honest with you, because it would have been awesome.
Yeah, no, we do the same thing for my son's STEM projects. So manipulating the wires to make the fan go or, build like a little car or something so that it can go on its own. Always a lot of fun. I love that.
Yeah.
What inspired you to be an owner?
So I actually never thought about owning an electrical business. Since I was really young, I always looked at business ownership being like apartments, restaurants, suit, tie. You have to be very white collar. There's no blue collar involved. And it's because I had this stigma in my mind. You always look up to your parents. And I looked up to my dad. My dad was a division manager at a very successful electrical company. I looked at that as being the pinnacle. So like I looked at that. So I never looked at electrical owning my own business as being. So with that, what made me want to be an owner is I always respected the owner of Suburban Electric, and I respected him to an absolute level of, to this day, I still talk back and forth with him and I absolutely love and cherish him. And he's a very amazing human being. And what I respected about him was he was at about 150 employees at the time. And he knew us all by name, would always go out of his way to, if he saw you walking past, he handed you a Gatorade and said, hey, how are you doing? Like, how are you doing? And not how are my jobs going? Not how is this company a good fit for you? Even though like he wanted to know that, but like he took the time out of his day to be like, how are you personally doing? And how can I help you? And it was never, it never seemed like he wanted anything else other than for you to be happy. So I always respected that. Well, ownership changed. And I don't want to speak poorly about it, but the atmosphere overall went into a different direction. People became more replaceable. People became more like numbers and not family anymore. And so I started saying, hey, what do I want? What did I value in this company? And I valued loyalty and respect, and I valued that family atmosphere, and I wanted that back. So in that coming into fruition, I decided I'm going to go start my own thing. I'll be my own boss. I won't need to worry about any of this. And if I end up getting employees, then I can give back that love and respect that I had received. And that's when it clicked for me. I was like, why can't I be a business owner? I have my master's. I have enough education behind me that I should be able to identify what I need to do within a business. And I just went into it. And now I've never looked back since. And it's been amazing.
That's great. What is something that you know today that you wish you knew when you started?
I think the biggest thing is the biggest problem that you're going to encounter is always going to be people, but your biggest asset is people. And going into a business, you get so focused on all the numbers, you get so focused on like the jobs. And sometimes, like, even with me wanting to have all this loyalty and respect for my people, you get lost at times. And I think had I known in the beginning and I kept that focus a lot stronger, I think the team might have built up even quicker than what it already has and been stronger from the beginning. Because sometimes you get dragged into things and situations where you're going against what your intuition is telling you and like what you're feeling and vibing from the people within your organization, just because you're looking at the financial side of things. And I think knowing that the people are going to empower you, and sometimes you are your biggest bottleneck, and to trust people and get those people in there. I think just knowing that people are what are going to make and break you within a business overall, not really your financials, not really like the jobs that you're going to go get. If you have the right people and you stand behind them, that's what drives you. Because I just don't feel like that's talked about enough. And enough people really say it. Like, everybody talks about, hey, what's your margins? Where are you coming in? What's your backlog? Not how are your people doing?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you really concentrate on the culture that you've built within your
Yeah.
own business. Is that part of the scaling aspect? I know that you guys are doing pretty well. Do you have any secrets of scaling your business?
I think the secret is identifying your culture and fully standing behind it. Because if you empower the people within the organization, anybody who's a naysayer or doesn't belong to be part of it, they will walk themselves right out the door. You won't even have to fire them. And your own people will start to identify who's good fits for what. And when you empower people with like core values and culture, and they firmly stand behind it and they resonate with you, they do things above and beyond what their expectations are. So I can have a set job description, and then the person who's maybe the VP of sales is all of a sudden pulling permits for people because, hey, I see somebody struggling. And I've seen that as being a huge asset, because now you no longer need to worry about like everybody's willing to assist in every single lane. Obviously, you have a lane that you need to stay in to a point, and like these are my designated tasks. But when it comes to scalability, you all are fully supporting each other, and it becomes a lot easier to bring somebody into the organization and train, because now people are picking up slack. So you see that there's a job needed, you've heard it, and you bring somebody in as, say, an admin assistant. Well, we didn't have that job there before. We saw it was needed. And in the training process, it's not like, hey, they come in and everything gets handed to them. It's a gradual process of everybody supporting them, because we're a team. And without the culture that we have, I've just never experienced anything like that, where you don't hear Patty talking about Jack and saying, hey, he's a you know what, and I can't talk to him. Like, we all hang out together. We'll all go out to the bar together, or we'll go like have fun. I mean, anytime we have a company party, 2 kids are involved. So like, it's cool that we all know each other's family at every single level, and we enjoy hanging out with each other. So you just, it's not like work anymore.
I really love that, because it brings it to the point when you want to have like strategy sessions or team meetings. You probably have a lot of involvement from everybody in the room. Is that right?
Yeah. And it's so crazy how people take accountability too. Like, you don't even have to, you do hold people accountable, but you don't have to, because people take it on themselves. Like, you bring a problem and it's crazy how quick it gets solved. You bring it, and all of a sudden somebody who was not involved has a completely different perspective, because they've taken ownership and they're like, hey, my teammate is struggling. Like, this isn't my job, but I want to help you figure this out. So it's so cool that brainstorm sessions, like, they'll shrink in time, where originally it's 2 of you. You think that everything's on your plate, and it'll take you a couple hours to sit there and brainstorm, where in 5 minutes I can bring something. I got 87 ideas. And it's like, where did this come from? I didn't even know you had an opinion on this, but this is super cool. So yeah, it definitely helps.
It's when you put that platform out there for people, you will get surprised. I mean, people are thinkers, people are smart. They have their own ideas, and it's ideas that you might have never thought of, and they'll just surprise you. So it's really great that you've created that culture and environment so that they can share those ideas with you. Do you have any family in your business with you?
I have my father-in-law in the business with me, and that is the only family left. I had two
Okay.
other family members that were in there, but they didn't exactly work out. And I've been a very, when I bring family on, I'm like, hey, this is a whole nother family. It's a work family, but understand that I'm going to hold you to the same standard as everybody else. You don't get a pass. So it's worked out, and I have zero complaints on it. But yeah, no, I mean, that's the only family in. My wife wants no part of it. She wants, like, no, I don't want to work. I see you enough.
Do you have I mean, it sounds like you guys have a lot of fun over there. Do you hold like any annual get-togethers for any events or holidays or anything like that, or celebrate together?
We actually try to do a monthly get together. So we
Oh,
try to do
wow.
something fun. Like right now we have like Blizzards games where like we were a sponsor at for the American, well, it wasn't American Cancer Society. It's like a blackout night for them with cancer. And so like we have two different nights that we're going together as a team, one to support that cancer thing, and then we also got a team night. We traditionally try to do something in the summer that's a little bit bigger with like food trucks and try to have some of the community come in. So we always try to do two things once a month: community involvement and some sort of get together, whether it's everybody getting together for a UFC fight or we get together for a basketball game or something. We at least try to do that. And honestly, it always is super cool because like when people first start, they're always like hesitant on how it's going to be. And then we're like, oh no, you can bring your kids too. And they're like, whoa, it's like that relaxed. Like this isn't like a formal get together. No, like the kids are running around the office screaming, playing. Like we're just hanging out. So we'll get like food and we'll just do some fun stuff together as frequently as we can. I mean, we even go paintballing together. We'll like split up teams and we'll be like your team Alpha, your team Bravo, and we'll be like office versus field staff. We do a lot of fun stuff.
That is so fun. You got to invite me out. I love paintball, so invite me
Yeah.
out to one of those little get-togethers. I'd love to join. So, I mean, you sounds like you like sports and stuff. Do you have a sports background?
Yeah, I mean, kind of like
Kind of.
nothing outrageous. Like, was I an all-star on a varsity team? No. Like, did I play sports? I was like an all-year-round athlete. I was in wrestling at some point. I
Nice.
was basketball, football, track. I do jujitsu now, and that's actually another fun thing that we'll do upstairs. Like every once in a while, a couple of us will roll together. We used to joke about it being our HR department. If you have disagreements, we have headgear and boxing gloves, and like go upstairs, take care of your problems, and then come back down. So, I mean, we just try to have fun.
That sounds like the dream. So I do jujitsu too. So that's another thing I'll have to come out to the office and we'll do some rolling. That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Uh,
that'd be amazing.
yeah, that sounds great. But it sounds like, so do you feel like sports helped build discipline in your everyday work, your kind of like work-life balance?
I think it definitely helped. It for sure did not hurt. I mean, to this day, I love being extremely active, and I'm always pushing people to be active. We have a gym upstairs as well as the jujitsu mat, and
Nice.
I advocate, like I pay for everybody's gym membership so that they can go and do stuff. We try to do like, I think we're finally gonna have a football team this year that we're all gonna jump on. And last year, I think we only had like 4 people sign up. So we're trying to, I don't know. I think as a team, we have a really good team aspect, and some people are really competitive and athletic driven, but I think it definitely has helped because those of us that do get together and we start to compete with each other, it's like iron sharpening iron. Like it's
Yeah.
fun and we get to compete, and there's no ill will. It's not. So I think it definitely has helped having that competitive edge, being an athlete in a
Yeah.
younger
No,
age.
I'm totally with you. And all this great stuff that you have to offer. I'm guessing that you use some of it when you're doing your recruiting. You have to tell some new guys out there like, hey, listen, this is what Plug Light Bulb Electrical Services has. You need to come work with us. I
Yeah.
mean, is hiring new recruits hard these days, or do you have your own tactics that have worked out for you?
So I hire 100% on culture. And
Okay.
to be honest with you, we normally don't have an issue finding the right people. I mean, we have so many applicants now. It's like people are trying to jump ship from other companies because my guys, for instance, like I have all these people in the apprenticeship. So they sit in with other companies, people, and they're just talking about the culture and they're talking about like what's going on. And people are constantly trying to come over to us. So I don't like poaching. And so I try to avoid that as much as possible. But like we have so many opportunities to hire people that we've had to base it directly off of culture. And if we just hire based off of that culture, skill sets can be learned. I mean, I have Logan who's with me right now. He's running $1 million in work and he's been with me for a year and a half. Like he's just
Wow.
an animal. He's amazing human being, sticks with our culture. Like I could trust him with anything. And he also has this desire to learn a skill set. I'd put him against journeymen that have been in the trades for 7, 8, 10 years. He's just an absolute animal. And like a lot of our people are like that because all we do is hire based on cultures, morals, and your willingness to learn. You don't even have to, I mean, there's people who learn slower. Like there's plenty of people in our company that don't even, they're like, I don't want to do anything past just listen to you. But they fit with our culture. And that's the important part.
That's great. Throw away the resume. Go make sure that they have the energy, the ownership. They know how to experiment and just go all out. So, I mean, you can teach them the skills that they need to be the best. And I love that you have that attitude towards the new recruits. That's great, man. That's awesome. Definitely commendable for you. That's awesome. So, do you ever with these new recruits and all the current employees, do they use any type of technology to help the business in any ways? Like, how do you utilize technology in your business today?
So I've always have an open floor with everyone. I love technology and I'm constantly pushing people incorporate technology as much as we can. And we would not have scaled to where we did today without technology. I mean, just for instance, they leverage AI for scanning emails and being able to like identifying what's actually important for us to respond back to and not, and put it all in one email so that it's like, hey, here's a bullet point on the last 3 hours of reading and you need to answer it this way. Or even just like our safety director leveraging AI once again for, we have toolbox talks, right? And we're constantly doing trainings every single Monday. How do we spice it up a little bit? Take this, make it more interesting and build on it. Oh, now let's incorporate a quiz. So like there's so many different things that we do with technology, even with like timekeeping and we're incorporating it all over the board. Like I can't stress enough with how fast technology is moving that people need to just get on board on every aspect, because even with social media, like you can implement things that you can leverage to take a lot of time off of your plate and focus it on building content on it, or even helping build content. So it's, yeah, we use it everywhere. And on a weekly basis. We have a meeting every Monday at 11 between all the office staff. And I'm always saying, what else can we implement this week? What else can we leverage? Because sometimes they come up with really cool ideas. They're like, hey, I saw this on a TikTok on like an ad over here. Can we use this? And we'll like beta test it. Nope, we're not using that. Or yeah, that was awesome. Let's run with it. So definitely using technology as much as we can because it's ever changing. And like, we're not married to any one set way. We just want to keep evolving as a company and a culture. So
I'm with you. That's so smart that you at least test it, because you never know how much time it could save you until you actually put it to work.
yep.
So where do people find your business? How do they find you?
So you can find us online at plbes.com. You can find us probably on Google just by Googling electrician in Green Bay, Wisconsin, or De Pere, Wisconsin. You can call us at 920-396-8745, and honestly, those are probably the best ways to communicate with us and find us.
Okay. And as far as like where you do business, do you have like a range or geographical area that you stick to?
Our geographical footprint is actually the whole United States. So we're physically doing
nationwide.
We're doing work in North Carolina right now. I have my license in 22 states now, and I'm working on trying to at least get 49. I don't know if I'm going to go get Alaska's license. I can't foresee us going up there. I originally said no Hawaii too, but like everybody inside the company said no. We want an excuse to go to Hawaii. If you're going to get it 48, you're getting Hawaii's too. So geographically, the entire country, we are trying to at least build a little bit more presence back up in Wisconsin, because we have so many projects throughout the United States right now that some of our guys just want to be home a little bit more, which I want to listen to them. And that's a huge thing for us, is we get a lot of projects based on what our people want. And I think that's another outlying thing for us, where instead of directing, saying, hey, you're mandated to go here, I poll people on a quarterly basis saying, hey, what'd you get exposed to? What did you like? Where do you want to work? Do you want to work out of town? Do you want to work in town? Do you want to work on apartments? Do you want to work on car washes? Do you want to work on commercial buildings? Like, what do you want? So that kind of dictates our geographical setting, but ultimately we accept jobs through the entire nation.
That's wonderful. Before we wrap up, do you have any advice for new construction owners that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Yeah, the biggest thing that anybody who's starting a business needs to remember is processes. Everything's in your head. You need to write it down now. Because if you want to scale, like you had referenced before, the only way that you're going to scale is having it written down. And the only way you can delegate is writing stuff down and being able to pass it on and give somebody at least bumpers on what they need. Everybody's going to do things a little bit differently. And that's another thing, honestly, is a piece of advice. You are going to always do everything the best. So don't expect any more than 75% from anybody else, because you care more. For instance, we had 2 emergency calls last night, and there's somebody on call, but the phone calls came through at 11:30 p.m. and 1:30 a.m. I'm the last line of defense. I picked up the phone call on both of them because the other person was sleeping. Could I get a hold of them and wake them up? Absolutely. But that's just a reference point that I don't let the phone go unanswered. And I guarantee that you're probably not going to find somebody that's going to also do that and be willing to just wake up at all hours in the morning. So I would say processes is the biggest thing. And then the second biggest thing is make sure that you understand nobody will do it as good as you. Like, you can put up bumpers. They're going to do it a different way. It does not, you're becoming a bottleneck if you micromanage people and say, I need it done exactly this way. You just need to put in curves and say, here's my tolerance level, and this is what you cannot exceed. But for sure, processes, because that is, with how much we've scaled in the last 6 years since our beginning, had I known processes, we would have scaled even faster. If everything wasn't in my head and it was written down, it would have made my life easier, even for when you're pulling people in to train them, instead of having to actually take the time and hold their hand the entire way and build the process while you're training them. If you have it written down, this is my expectations in this realm, it helps you. It does not hurt you.
That is great advice. And thank you, Matthew, for being a guest on our show. Please, everyone, like, subscribe, comment, and share the Builder Upper Show with anyone in the construction industry. We will see you next time. If you're a construction contractor and would like to appear as a guest on our podcast, write us an email. It's lou@lumberfi.com.